All right, guys, the adventures of having bees continues. I'm out here today, walked out here, just gonna check on the bees for a little bit and see how they were doing. And I've got a pretty good bit of bearding going on the hive that we recently moved them over because they were trying to swarm from the other one. I don't know if it's an overcrowding issue or if they're trying to swarm. I don't know exactly what's going on with them yet. But I've got another box that I've put together, and we're gonna add that to these bees, just check them out. And I'm also gonna be adding some beetle traps for the hive beetles while we're in there and got the suit on. Hopefully this won't take too long, but let's get started. All right, so I got the smoker getting ready, letting it just get some embers in there so that I can have some smoke. Got the rest of my stuff out. Here is the hive that I put together. This is one I ordered it last year, never used it. I finally got around to putting it together this week. While we're in there, we're gonna be using these little beetle traps right here. I'm gonna be putting some of them in the hives. And for you woodworkers that watch me on the woodworking channel, we're going to be using some food grade mineral oil to put in those traps to catch the beetles. You don't want to use anything that would hurt you if you were to eat it, in case it were to get mixed in with the honey. So by using this, that makes sure there's no contaminants or anything in there. So this hive is, you got two supers right here that have 10 frames each, and then I got two deeps down here, 10 frames each. I've got the top, all the parts to it. So we're gonna suit up. I'm gonna have the other camera, because I don't have a camera person or anybody to help me today. I've gotta have both of my hands. So I've got the other camera kind of set up right here. And I'm gonna do my best to use a little pocket camera here to document as much of this as possible, but let's get started. All right, guys, so this is gonna be the camera that I'm gonna be using. You can't really see it. But it's right here on my chest. It's my little small action camera that I have. So that's what we're going to be using, and hopefully I'll be able to get enough video for you guys. So yeah, let's get over there and get started. I'm all gloved up, ready to go. So let's get it going. All right, guys, so I'm not going to sit here and talk over this whole thing, but basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going in, like with this one here, I'm just going to go in and check and see if they've got enough room to continue to grow. When I got in there, it didn't really look like a swarming situation as much as it looked like they had just had a big like hatch out of bees, and there was just not enough room for all the bees in there. And I'm going to show you on some of these frames real quick that there was a lot of brood in there, but there's this one frame that if you look in the middle of it, it looks kind of empty. And I think what had happened is there was just so many bees hatched out all at once that there just wasn't enough room in the box for them. As you can see, each one of these frames is just covered in bees. That's some new wax right there, that white wax you see. They're building that out for comb, but that's like brand new wax. So that's just been built. I'm trying to keep them from getting too irate with me, but as you can see, they're not real happy with me cracking into the box. Using smoke, that's going to be a mixture of just regular like ground clutter, leaves and stuff from the area, as well as some pine straw to make it burn a little better in there. And just something to basically trick them into thinking the woods are on fire, so they'll get confused and eating some honey instead of messing with me. That down at the bottom right there, those little patches, that's brood. All of that brown that you see, this looks like felt stuck to it, that's brood. The white looking stuff, that's going to be where the honey's stored. And they had a pretty good little bit of honey band around these frames. So these guys are doing really good. This is the box. If you remember the other day, I took 4 frames out of that big box right there to the right of where I'm standing. I took 4 frames out of it and just put in this box to do a split. See that center of that, how that's empty and everything else is kind of like infelt around through there? I think that's where all the bees just hatched out because, like, look at all those bees. That box is full. And this is that new colony. Like I said, they were on the verge of swarming the other day. And I pulled 4 frames out of that big tall uh, box with the smoker on it. I pulled 4 frames out of that one and put in this box to get them started. So they're doing really well. I'm pleasantly pleased with how the numbers are expanding and they're putting up honey and building comb, looking really good. There are a couple of little queen cups right there, and I don't think they were going to swarm, but either way, before it's all said and done, they're going to have plenty of room to hopefully keep them from swarming. You can see a little bit of honey put up right there as well on the bottom of that, but the rest of that's just brood comb, and then you can see some scattered brood right there, this cap brood and everything. So the camera's hard to control while you're trying to handle frames of bees, but yeah, you can see some honey right there around the bottom of that, and then a bunch of brood. So I grabbed a few photos right here, just to you know document the queen cups or whatever. That was that one queen cup right there that I don't think they were trying to swarm after looking at how much room they had in there, but you never know. Uh, but yeah, it's really neat messing with these bees. Uh, I enjoy it most of the time. I did get stung quite a few times on that little strap right there. You'll see that through the video if you watch. But yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm taking them out of, I don't know if you've realized it or not, but I'm taking the hive and I'm converting them out of that white painted box and I'm putting them over in that new box that I just put together because the white painted one, it's not treated lumber. It's kind of a old school hive that I got from a friend of mine, and so I'm trying to put them all in these new boxes that are just basically Chinese fur with, and they're wax dipped, so that they're a lot more resistant to you know uh, rotten and stuff like that. But look at the brood on that one, guys. That thing is covered in brood. This hive is about to explode. That's the reason I decided while I was in there looking at the number of bees. I'm pretty confident that they were bearding just because it was just getting so hot in there with all that body heat from all these bees. So that's why I decided, and you'll see it here in a minute. I'm just going to add some space to the hive and give them some room to grow and see if that calms them down because I didn't see enough to indicate that they were going to swarm. But of course, that's always a possibility. Look at that brood in that one too. So if all of these bees, like all those little brown spots that you see right there, those little round dots, everywhere you see one of those, that's a bee that's fixing to hatch. So with that much capped brood in there, if I don't do something, then they will be encouraged to swarm because they're not going to have enough room to hang out in that hive. So that's why I just went ahead. When I saw the bearding, I knew it was either a swarm situation or overcrowding, and I'm leaning heavy overcrowding. Y'all can let me know if you're experienced with bees. Let me know because I am still learning. But from looking at how much brood is in that box, I think it's overcrowding for sure. But yeah, so that's all I'm doing is just moving them from one box to the other right now, and I'm going to stack that thing up. So I'll leave you with it for a little while. Just pay attention to what's going on and enjoy the sights and sounds of beekeeping. All right, so we discussed it earlier, guys, but now I'm coming back. I've got a few of those beetle traps. That one, hive that I had, it had beetles really, really bad. These guys, I didn't see any beetles in there, but they're pretty much always going to get into the hive, and so I'm just while I'm putting this thing together, I'm adding some of those little beetle traps to it to kind of help them out because even though most of the time a really strong hive can take and keep the beetles beat back, it's just extra effort for them. So since I've got these traps, I'm gonna go ahead and put those in there and get this thing boxed up and get them going. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just reboxing these guys. As you can see, they went from having this one white box right here to now they've got those two wooden boxes. And I just gotta get all the bees over in there from here now. All right, so now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get those bees that are in that box to go ahead and migrate down into their new hive. And you can see they're basically doing it. They'll move towards that hive where they had all their brood and everything. They'll just move down into it. I'm gonna hit them with a little bit of smoke, and that's gonna kind of force them to go down. Uh, you saw the lid earlier. I just threw those guys over there on that, but this is a little harder to throw the bees off of. But I'm gonna shake them a little bit and just set that thing to the side. And over time, they'll leave that box and go into the other box where all the rest of the bees are. So it's a process. It takes a little time, but at the end of the day, this is going to be a really good hive. They are off to a really good start, and you can see I'm just setting the parts of that other box over there to the side, and I'm gonna let those guys work their way back into their new home. Hopefully that'll work out. All right, guys. So this is one of the volunteer hives that I got last year, and they've been doing really good. I had noticed recently that their numbers were way down. You can look right now and tell their numbers are way down compared to the other hives. So I want to go in and give a good check on them and see how they were doing. And guys, it's pretty bad when I got in there. You could smell the smell of like soured honey. Bugs had gotten in there. This is a different breed of bees than what my other ones are. These are a lot nicer bees. And with the nicer bees, the problem that you get a lot of times is that they aren't as good at fending off like insects and pests and stuff like that, it seems. And so this whole top super was full of honey, but like there's nothing in there now. Like their honey is all gone, and there's you can't really see them, but there's little tiny larvae in there from both beetles as well as wax moths, And so basically, this swarm is on its way out. I'm hoping that by what I did today, I can salvage them. It looks like their queen has either quit laying, they've lost her, or something, and their numbers have just gotten so low that you can see the top of that frame right there, where the pests and the moths and the larvae from the beetles and stuff like that is just feasting upon their honey, and the wax moths are eating the wax. You can see there. You can see where it's eat holes through the wax. So yeah, this is pretty bad shape. And so what I wind up doing here while I'm in here is I'm basically just gonna rip this thing apart. I'm taking everything out of there except the bare essentials. I'm gonna try to clean as much of these pests and bugs out as I can to minimize the real estate that the bugs have in there and try to pull the numbers down and give the bees a fighting chance. The ones of them that are left. What I've did is I've just ripped all that out, cleaned everything, putting it back with the bare essentials, and I am going to put like 5 of those oil traps in here to try to get some of the beetles out. And I'm going to give it a couple of weeks and go back in there. And I'm hoping because there's quite a few bees in this hive. I'm hoping that if I get the numbers of bees to where they outnumber the number of pests, maybe that will fix it. So that's what we're doing now. I'm just fixing to break this thing down, rip out all the unnecessary parts, get rid of as much of the bee larva or the beetle larva and stuff as I can, and give them a chance to start over. Taking some pictures now. All right, guys. So I've done what I can with that hive. I hope it's going to pull through. I think you can look at the bees on the front of the box. There's quite a few bees there, so maybe they can battle those bugs and get them out of there and recover. If not, I may end up having to borrow some bees from another hive, putting in there. But I'm thinking the queen has either died or something's happened to her because their numbers should not be that low this time of year. So a lot of times it's best to let nature do what it does, and if that hive is not strong enough to make it, just go ahead and let that genetics weed out of the breed. A lot of times, I know you've been seeing a lot of stuff on the news about bees are being decimated across the country and all that. A lot of that has to do with uh, human intervention with bees, in my opinion. And so what winds up happening is, people do want friendlier bees, easier to work and all that. But in the process, friendlier bees aren't necessarily the best at keeping their hives taken care of. So, a lot of times it's not a bad thing if you've got a swarm that or a hive that can't really take care of things. It's not a bad thing sometimes to let that genetics play out of your stock so that the bees that you do have are strong enough to continue multiplying. And as you can see with this one, they've got these two supers right here. Those things are solid honey. If I weren't so pressed for time, I would probably go ahead and take this and process this and get. I'd say each one of those boxes probably has 20 pounds of honey in it, so you're looking at probably about 40 pounds of honey. That one is just slap full as well. But since I'm not going to be fooling with honey today, I decided to leave those on there, let them keep it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more honey super to it. And what that is going to do is that's going to let them go ahead because they're almost completely full now. That's going to let them go ahead and start building on that third honey super. And then when I do get ready to pull honey, I'll just pull the two older boxes that are full and go from there. So there's going to be a lot of honey in that hive when it's all said and done. So after a little bit of restacking, there you go. That's a tall beehive right there. But those 3 boxes up top, everything above that white bigger box, that's just honey. I've got a queen excluder there that keeps the queen from going up there, so she can't lay brood there. So everything above that white box is going to be nothing but honey. You can see that what I usually do is I give them 2 deeps, and then I put a queen excluder, and then I stack honey supers above there, just like this one that I'm going in now. Same case. That is 2 honey supers as well as 2 deeps. All right, so what I did with this one, guys, basically I just dug down in there, looked to make sure everything looked good. I went ahead and added the beetle traps and then stacked this one back up. It's still doing a really good job. They've got room for growth, and so not a whole lot to do there. But let's get out of here and wrap this up. All right, guys. That's a bit of a process, trying to be the camera guy, work the bees, you know, keep the smoke going. You know, multitasking is not easy in a bee suit wearing gloves. And I wear these thin gloves right here. Yeah, they're orange, but I wear these thin gloves because I have problems with dexterity with the thick bee gloves. And in case you're wondering, I don't know if you can see them or hear them. You never just run away from working with bees and take your suit off instantly, especially when you made as many bees as I have angry. Because see, these four little guys right here, they're just following me right now. So I've got to wait for a few minutes for them to give up, or either I've got to sneak into the shack real fast and leave them outside. And so I'm just gonna give them a few minutes and see if they calm down and go away. But yeah, so today's findings, guys, the one hive that I thought might have been gonna swarm, I can't rule out that they were gonna swarm or not, but it looked like to me what had happened by looking at the brood, looking at the number of queen cups in there. I only found one queen cup. There could have been one or two that I missed because there was a lot of bees in there. But what it looked like from looking at the brood pattern was that they had just had a massive hatch out. And there were so many bees in that box that it was just getting too hot. It's hot here today. The humidity's kind of, you know, it's not the most humid it's ever been, but it's pretty humid. So I think what may have been happening is that because they couldn't get enough air circulation in the hive, a lot of them just went outside and started bearding. But that sometimes can be related to heat, and sometimes it can be related to like pre-swarm activities. So I just wanted to go in and make sure. The good news is, look at that guy right there. Look, it's like, hey, you messed with my hive. See, stinging my rag. So yeah, that's why you leave your suit on for a little while. It doesn't hurt. But the thing is that the one hive, the one that was on the far left, it had beetles in it like nobody's business. Now, I will tell you, those bees are not the bees that I normally have here. Those aren't swarms that I went and caught. Those bees kind of showed up a couple of years ago and took over a box. But it seems to me like the nicer the bees are, the more susceptible they are to the beetles. The meaner the bees, the less the beetles mess with them. It's probably because they're a lot more defensive, and these guys are, look, these guys are tearing me up still. It's probably because they're a lot less defensive, and so they just kind of get pushed around by the beetles. But that one hive was in bad shape. Like, it was, at one time, it looked like it was full of honey, and the beetles had got in there and their larvae were just going everywhere. So I wound up basically just dumping that hive out, cleaned out as much of the stuff as I could, took a couple of the frames that had a lot of beetle larvae on it and stuff like that, got it out of there, consolidated the hive, took the super off of it, and threw, I think I put 5 of those little oil traps in there for beetles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the bees a chance. Basically, I've just went in there and just decimated the beetle population, and I'm going to give the bees a chance to be able to rebuild, because what they'll do is they'll corral the remaining beetles, hopefully. There's enough bees. There's a lot of bees in there, so hopefully I caught it early enough, because what happens is if they can't make more bees, slowly the population dies down to the point to where the hive fails. Hopefully I caught it when there's enough bees in there to be able to bring it back from the brink. And we'll see. If not, then I'll just have to hollow that one out and start over with a swarm from one of my other hives. But I've got plenty of hives now. I've got the one on the top of the hill up there. Plus I've got these, let's see, what is there, 4 now over here. So, and there was enough honey in those 2 tallest ones over there. There's enough honey in there to last me and my family probably 2 years. Those supers, when I picked those supers up, they were probably pushing 50 pounds. So I didn't want to deal with honey today. I was just trying to fix the problem with the bees and do some rearranging and put some beetle traps out. But yeah, as soon as I get ready to do a honey harvest, which hopefully will be pretty soon, I did add another super to the one that was topped out. Like, the whole thing's full of honey. So I added another super to it. That way they can go ahead and start building into that, because right now they're almost honey bound. So I'm going to build into that, and then when I do take honey, I'll just take the supers below that one and then add some new ones above it. So hopefully you enjoyed the video, and hopefully I can get in the shot without getting tore up outside of my suit. I think I wound up with probably, but for some reason they go for these straps on here. Usually they go for black, but for some reason they always go for these straps. So I think I got like 5 or 6 stings on my right hand, and like 2 on my left through these gloves. I'm gonna have to come up with a better solution because, like I said, the bees that I have that do the best, they are mean. They are really mean bees, and this is some of them right here. So let me see if I can get in the shop without taking these guys in there with me, so I can get out of this suit, because I don't know if you can tell it or not, guys, but it's hot in this suit. So till next time, stay tuned, and if you haven't, hit that subscribe button, guys. I'm trying to build it up before retirement. So see ya.